Welcome to the Wok Star instructional video. I'm going to go over the general rules of the game. So here we have our layout of our board, and these represent the 4 players in this game. And the goal of the game is to earn enough money to pay off the loan for the restaurant. And you only have 4 rounds to do this over the course of the game. When you start the game, you have a limited menu. You have 3 recipes that you serve as a restaurant. Each person will randomly get assigned a Wang family member that will give them a unique power to use during the game. So we have our 4 players. Also, you're assigned ingredients. And these ingredients are the ingredients you're in charge of preparing over the course of the game. To create ingredients, each player is assigned a die of a pool of die of 1 color that they'll roll each round to produce ingredients. And then, based on these 3 recipes, we create a deck of customers. So right now we have lo mein, egg rolls, and fried rice. And so we take 4 copies of each of those and we shuffle them together to create our customer deck. This is who we're going to serve. But, just to add spice, we're going to add some events in there. So based on the number of players and the difficulty that you're playing at, you're going to shuffle events into this deck as well. So, when the first round starts, everyone takes their die and rolls it at the same time. So everyone rolls their dice, all 4 players, and these numbers don't change. You have to leave them on the side that they land on. And you spend these die to create ingredients. So say we needed some eggs. See, we have peppers, eggs, pork, bok choy, and egg wraps, which are the ingredients required to make these 3 recipes. So if we need to make more of them, we can spend die in one of 3 different ways to make more ingredients. So if I spend a 6 on here, I'll make 1 egg. So this player 1 could do that. But it's more efficient if I can have a 2. So maybe another player has a 2. And I can call out and that person can give me a 2 from there, and I spend that 2 on my card, and now I can produce 2 eggs instead. And there's other combinations for each ingredient. So exchanging dice between players is really important, and it can happen on the fly. So as the round proceeds, some players are going to be supplying ingredients, and other ones are going to be using ingredients to serve customers. And what a customer is, let's give a customer here. This shows how much they're going to pay and what they want. And so the current player, we're going to say we're going to start with the first player, with player 1, flips the timer, reveals the first card over here, and they have to serve lo mein before this timer runs out. And so they look at what's required for lo mein. It requires a pork, an onions and peppers, and a bok choy. So you do 1 pork, 1 onion peppers, and 1 bok choy. And that customer is now served. I can take this card and I can flip the timer. When I take this card, it tells me which player is going to get the next customer. So when I flip that timer, it says player 4. When I flip that timer, I'm going to give the timer to player 4. And now he has to serve the next customer. Well, this is an event, but you know, the next customer, which is maybe another lo mein. And then when he's done serving the customer, he flips the timer and gives it back to player 1 because there's a 1 on this card. And so the turn order can really, you know, be chaotic because you don't know if you're going to go next. And in the case of using sand timers, you always just flip whatever timer is empty. So whichever one has less sand in it, you flip that one and you put it in front of that player and you tell them, hey, it's your turn, and you reveal the next, you know, customer from the deck. And you proceed until you've gone through all the customers in this deck. At the end of the day, we all collect our money together and we spend it to improve our restaurant. So the round probably consists of 20 different turns of individual players serving customers. Now when an event comes up, things get interesting. So if you're assigned, if you are given the timer and you have an event come up, it says gain and roll a die. If your color is white, you take a white die from the supply and roll it. And it tells you on this chart what happens because of that number. But the additional bonus is now whatever number you rolled is part of your dice pool to spend on ingredients. So bad things can happen with events, but a lot of the events give you additional dice. And those dice that you earn, next round, this player is now going to have 4 dice to roll at the beginning of the next day. So each die can only be used once. So once it's placed on a preparation, it's used until the next day. So eventually all the dice will get used, and hopefully we don't use all the dice before we run out of customers. Because if we run out of ingredients or we run out of dice and we have to turn a customer away, they get discarded. And there's a small penalty for every customer that you discard. So at the end of the day, we look at all the customers that we've served and we add up all that money. So you count all the dollar bills, and everyone cashes it, turns their customers back in, and you use it to create the next customer deck. So you count up all the money, and this outer track on the board is the collective money that we've earned. And so you add it up, and then there's a couple of bonuses. Based on how many dice you spent on your own ingredients, you'll get $1 for each of those, which is like tips. And then there's also a penalty for every customer you had to turn away that you'll reduce. So based on all that, you'll have the amount of money that you have as a group to spend. So people don't have money individually, we spend money together. And there's 2 main ways to spend money. You can upgrade ingredients. So if you say you use a lot of bok choy, there's a number on the bok choy, this is $10, that you can pay from the bank to improve your bok choy. So next round, whenever you spend a die on this, you're going to make a lot more of it. The other thing you can spend money on is recipes. And so each round, there are 3 new recipes for sale. So say in this round, for sale we have sweet and sour pork, wonton soup, and mugu gaipan. And we have to decide if we want to buy one of these recipes to expand our menu. There's a lot of consequences of buying a recipe. So you pay the money to buy the recipe, you go through the supply, and you get all 4 copies of that, and it gets added to your customer deck. And any new ingredients that you need, you have to assign to a player. So say now we need chicken, we buy a recipe and somebody needs to do chicken. We choose somebody who thinks they can handle it, and they make chicken now, and we put a chicken marker on the board. So now we're making chicken, and so any ingredients that you need for this new recipe get introduced. And over the course of the game, now we're going to serve people with mugu gaipan. So each round, you turn all your customers back in, you buy recipes, you make upgrades, and everyone rolls their dice and you start a new round. And you're going to play this over 4 rounds, and in the 4th round is the big, launch. It's the big grand opening where the bank will be there and you have to determine if you're going to win. And the goal is, in the last round, you have to earn $80 in just the last round. Normally, money between rounds it can roll over, so if you don't spend all your money, you get to use it the next round. But for the bank to evaluate whether you win, right before the final scoring, the bank goes to 0, and you have to serve between your tips and your customers $80. And if you can do it, you win. And that is Wok Star. And it gets really chaotic because everyone can touch the board at the same time. Everyone can be, as long as it's their job. If I'm in charge of peppers, I can be moving peppers up. If it's my turn to serve a customer, they're going to be moving down. So everyone's going to be, only one customer at a time, but everyone else can be creating ingredients, asking for dice, and other things are going on because you only have 20 seconds per die. Now we're going to be introducing an electronic timer for this game, where instead of a sand timer, you're just going to have an electronic timer that you'll click and hand to the next person as indicated on the customer card. And that person will now be in charge of it. There'll be a beep if you don't make it in time. Now, late customers are if both sand timers are empty, or if you hear a beep on the electronic timer, you have to go ahead and discard that customer. So there's a lot of pressure to keep the customers flowing, and that is the magic of Wok Star. It's really chaotic, and it's really fun. And I thank you for your time.